Calls for an extension to the transition period have been shut down after EU expert Professor Anand Menon revealed why it was absolutely possible that Brexit will happen by the end of this year. Talks aimed at striking a post-Brexit deal between the UK and the US will start today after being delayed for weeks because of the coronavirus pandemic. Professor Anand Menon, director of the UK in a Changing Europe group, spoke to BBC Radio London about the difficulties of negotiating trade deals remotely. However, the expert also issued a warning to the European Union about extending the transition period. When asked if it was possible that there will be no delay, Mr. Menon assured, "It's absolutely possible. The way it is in EU law at the moment, and in our own domestic law, is that unless we ask for an extension by the end of June, then the so-called transition period ends at the end of December and we leave the single market and customs union." One of the things that the government is trying to do to prepare for that is to try and negotiate a deal with the United States. It will be hard to negotiate a deal via Skype, and not doing it in person. That will make things a lot trickier. The cutoff point for requesting an extension to the transition period is June. Britain's chief negotiator David Frost and EU counterpart Michel Barnier have resumed discussions by video call as they race to strike an agreement before the December deadline. Mr. Barnier warned that the UK could not refuse to extend the transition while slowing down discussions on important areas. Transport Secretary Grant Shapps refuted claims there had been no progress, and emphasised that an extension would not be entertained. Mr. Shapps told a daily briefing, "People may not be aware that these have been continuing in this period, and they take place via video." The latest round has just taken place, and it included some very good progress on some areas. We're not going to entertain an extension to the transition period. That remains the case. We think the best way of providing certainty to all businesses out there is to know that we're not going to keep chopping and changing. Professor Menon also commented on the impact of the pandemic on the EU may change how a trade deal is negotiated. He told the BBC, "Countries tend to trade most with countries close to them. Geography isn't going to change, so, in that sense, yes, we'll continue to trade with them. But the EU is having a very rocky crisis, it didn't look much like a union at the beginning of the pandemic. And going forward, the experience of the crisis has led to some remarkable changes of opinion about the organization.